to my channel. So yes, I'm back again with another palette ranking. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. I did have a few people ask if I could rank all of my eyeshadows by usage. So I have done it now. I have got them all in order by use, least used to most used. This is in total. So I've been tracking eyeshadow usage for several years now. I will say, back in the past, I'm much better now, but back in the past, if I pulled a palette from like my shop, my stash, I would kind of like guess how many times I used it, or if I definitely remembered which shade I used, I would plug it in, but I wasn't as precise. So there's definitely palettes in here where I feel like my usage should be a little bit higher, but maybe I haven't, you know, tracked every time that I've gone into that palette. However, for the most part, all the older ones definitely seem to have a lot of use on them, which makes sense because I've had them a long time. And then I'm seeing ones that have very, very little use, and I'm feeling sad because some of these are my favorite palettes and I need to change that. So I think from doing this, it's really given me an idea of which palettes I want to focus on more, and then which palettes in my collection I really just don't like, because you've seen my ranking now. You know which palettes I don't like or that are on the chopping block, and some of them are really high in terms of usage, and it makes me sad. I also just want to say that not all of my uses for this month obviously have been tracked in my spreadsheet. So this is from the end of March. So anyway, regardless, let's get into it. So the one I've used the least is the Gal on the Moon from Gloss Gods. This one I have marked, I've only used 5 times, and I've only tracked that I've used it once so far this year, which I know is wrong. So I know I've used this a few times this month already, but because this is not counting April use, it's right at the bottom here with only 5 uses, but it is a new palette. I just got it in December, so it's really not been that long since I've had it in comparison to some of these other ones that are really high up. So really, it's not that surprising at the end of the day. I'll just show you what it looks like if you're not familiar, but really, really beautiful. I've already said though, I haven't gone into every single shade. I've swatched quite a few, but I definitely want to spend more time going into this. It's so beautiful. Okay, next up is a sad one to me. I have the new neutrals here from Gloss Gods. However, this is the second one that I purchased. The first one that I bought, I've said it multiple times, my mother has it now, and I bought this one as a replacement because she took it, and I really haven't gone into it nearly enough, but the other one, I feel like I had a lot more use. This one, I also have 5 uses only, which is a little bit of a shocker to me. I think I've gone into it way more than 5 times, so I think that there's probably something missing here, although maybe it's true, I don't know. But definitely one that I really, really enjoy, I love. I think these shades are so special. This is neutrals with a twist, and very, very sad that I have no use on this according to my spreadsheet, which is absolutely not true. So I'm gonna rectify that. I will change that for sure. Okay, this one's no surprise. I have the Mahogany Garden palette from Romand here. This one was ranked my least favorite palette in my collection, and I only have 6 uses on it. So I went into it, I think, maybe like 2 different days. So the way I'm tracking my usage is every time I go into a shade, that's a use. So even if I use the palette just for one look, but I go into 4 different shades, that's 4 uses. That's how these numbers have been calculated, all right? So this one makes complete sense that it is at the bottom. Next up, we have the Peach Pop from Gloss Gods. So this one I have used 7 times in total. 2 uses have been this year so far. And this one, again, was one of the bottom tier palettes that I had in my collection. I'm going to try to go a little bit quicker with this video. It's definitely not going to be an hour and a half like my full ranking video. So trust me, I'm going to be quick. Then we have the Avatar. This is the Lethal Cosmetics Avatar Earth palette. This one makes me sad. I definitely want to go into this more. I'm just looking down at my notes here, just in case you're wondering what I'm looking at. So this one has 7 uses. I have not gone into it at all this year yet. Picked this up back in the summer of last year, and yeah, I haven't gone into it so far this year, so definitely want to fix that as well. Then we have the Gal on Mars. This is another one from Gloss Gods. This one I also got back in December, but I have used it a little bit more than the other one. So this one I've used 8 times, and all those 8 times have been this year, and it is very, very pretty. Very, very pretty. I'm not opening everything. I just realized I didn't even show you. I mean, do I need to open everything? Maybe we'll open everything just so you can see. Very, very pretty. Very, very pretty. Anyway, okay, we'll move on. I don't want this video to be super long. Definitely not swatching in this video. So if you want to see swatches, I did swatch a little bit in my ranking video. Okay, so next up, we've got this one. This is from Makeup Factory. It's the Gold Selection palette. And this one I've used 9 times in total. I have not used it yet this year. However, that is a lie because I did roll it into my Pan Those eyeshadows and I have gone into it, but it's not tracked because that was in April and this is all the way up until March figures. So technically, I haven't really gone into it, but you know, I will have a lot more use on this one because I have this one in my Pan Those eyeshadows. Then we have Cosmic Beauty, The Lovers. This is a newer palette, so I don't feel that bad that it is here. This one I've used 9 times, however, though, so not too shabby. I've had it for, you know, since the end of February, I think, something like that, or right at the beginning of March is when I got it. Yeah, actually end of February I got this. And so it hasn't been too long, 9 uses. I did do a couple looks with it and I do have this shade now rolled into my Pan Those eyeshadows, so I will be getting more use out of this palette. Okay, we have another Lethal Cosmetics Avatar. This is the Fire. So this one I really enjoy, but I've only used it 10 times. One of those uses has been this year so far, so haven't used it too much this year yet, but again, another one that I want to rectify. I love this one, so definitely needs to have more use to sort of match how much I enjoy it. Next up, I've got the Desert Monsoon from What's Up Beauty. So I've also used this one 10 times. 4 of those uses have been this year so far. This is not a palette that I find very interesting in my collection, so I'm not too, you know, sad that I haven't gone into it that many times. Then we have the Sorbetti, which I think is a mistake for sure. I think I've gone into this way more times, but I've only tracked 11 uses. Haven't gone into it yet this month. This is what it looks like. It's really, really fun and colorful. And obviously you've got some mattes in there. I really do enjoy this. I think, yeah, actually maybe that is the case. I don't know. Whenever I go into this, it's like 1 or 2 shades and that's pretty much it. So yeah, I would love to get more use out of this because it's definitely a tier 2 palette for me. I really enjoy it. Then we have another Glam Shop. This one is a lot newer, so I don't feel too bad. I got this in December. And this is very monochromatic. This one I have used 11 times as well as the Sorbetti, so same amount of times, but I've used this, I've had the Sorbetti a lot longer, so something needs to change there. 4 of the uses have been this year, however, so I have actually gone into it a little bit this year. Haven't gone into Sorbetti, so that will definitely change. Then we have the Gal on Venus. I thought this was going to be a little bit higher. This one I've only gone into 13 times. I think I will do probably a dedicated video on this one just because it is so much fun, and I'll try to do some like neutral like looks that you can use for the office, and then obviously some wacky looks, because I think I have used this in obviously videos, but I don't think I've done a 3 looks 1 palette or anything like that. So that will definitely change my usage because these shades are absolutely stunning and it doesn't deserve to be at the bottom for sure. So yeah, this one 13 times. All right, then we have another Gloss Gods. This is the Molten Metals. This one I just got in December, so not too long, but I have used it 14 times. And 6 of those times have been this year. So yeah, I did use it quite a lot when I first got it, I guess. I have enjoyed it. I have learned to appreciate it. I think these shades are absolutely stunning. Yeah, it kind of deserves to be there, so that's good. Then we have the Galactic Visitor from Singe Beauty. This one I got in January, so I haven't had it too long to build up my numbers. And this one I have 14 uses on, and obviously all 14 uses have been this year so far. But I definitely want to get more use on it. I think the quality of this is really beautiful. Okay, then we have another Gloss Gods. This is the color of Rain. This one I got sometime last year. It has obviously some gorgeous shimmers in here. This one I have, however, used only 15 times since I've had it, and only 2 times this year so far. Then we have another Lethal Cosmetics. This is the Avatar Water Palette. This is the blue one. And this one I rated super high. It was like tier 1, but I've only gone into it 15 times, and none of them have been this year, but I do want to go into it. I think these shades are just too special not to touch. So yeah, and actually I had it in my Pan Those eyeshadows, so a lot of those uses were from my Pan Those eyeshadows. You'll notice that whenever I have a Project Level Up palette that comes up, or a palette that's been in Pan Those eyeshadows a lot, it's going to have far more uses, but you're going to notice I probably don't have that much use across the whole palette. It might be just 1 or 2 shades, which is unfortunate, but that's how it goes. So this one I think wouldn't have had as many uses had I not rolled it into my Pan Those eyeshadows, but I got to know it pretty decently well when I did do that, so I do like this one. Okay, so next up we've got my Haunted Mansion from Colourpop. This one I got maybe around September time, I can't remember, of last year, and really enjoy this one. It is one that I ranked really high, and I have used this 15 times in total and 4 times this year so far. I need my drink. I need my drink. Okay, then we have a NARS palette. This is the Stargaze palette, and this one was a holiday special a few years ago. I have used this 16 times so far. Haven't used it at all this year yet, but I did kind of rank it a little bit low. Maybe if I use it a little bit more, I would like it more, so definitely open to that. Okay, then we have my P. Louise Blend Away palette. This is too big for me personally. I have used this one 17 times. Most of those uses would be for this shade because I did have it in my Pan Those eyeshadows at some point. There's so many shades in here I haven't even swatched, I haven't looked at. It's just simply too big, but I want to maybe try to spend a little bit of time getting to know this one. It's just quite difficult. Then we have my Lunar Beauty Nude Prism. This one I've also used 17 times. I will say 14 of those times were from this year, however, though, so I've already gone into it this year and spent a little bit of time just playing with it. Again, it's not something that I feel like is all that special in my collection. Then we have another Gloss Gods. It's the Let's Get Nude. This one I have used 18 times, and one of those times has been this year. However, I think I've gone into it again this April. I think so. Yeah, I went into it again this April, but I haven't obviously tracked that yet. So, okay, then we have my She Glam Virtuous Virgo. This one I've used 18 times, and 4 of those uses have been this year. I had this in my Pan Those eyeshadows, and I just recently rolled it out because I just wasn't getting any use out of this. But yeah, this kind of is where it should belong, to be fair. Then we have my Peach Perfect from Gourmand Girls. So this one was a new palette for me when I got last year. I got it in the summer of last year, I believe. And oh no, yeah, I think it was the summer of last year. Sometime last year. And this one I have used 19 times. I have used it 9 times so far this year. And I have actually also just rolled this shade into my Pan Those eyeshadows. So it's going to get quite a bit more use, which I'm happy about. Okay, then we have a Cosmic Beauty palette. This is the Muse. This one I've also used 19 times, and 2 of those uses were this year so far. But yeah, definitely another palette that I want to spend a little bit more time on. I think I was quite harsh on this palette. I think I just was using it the wrong time of year. And I don't know, I'm just feeling like I want to dip my hands in this a little bit more because the shades are so beautiful. Okay, then we have my Lunar Beauty Moonshroom. This one I've used 20 times, and 6 of those uses have been this year so far. Another one where I think I want to do like a dedicated video, maybe like a 3 looks 1 palette, unless I've done that already. I don't think I have. I might have already done that. I will have a look. If I haven't done it, I definitely want to add it to my list of things to do. Okay, then we have another Glam Shop. This is the Muesli Noah, and this one I've used 20 times in total. I haven't used it yet this year. I will say a lot of those uses probably went to this shade because I did have it rolled into my Pan Those eyeshadows at some point, but otherwise I do really love this palette. Okay, this one makes me sad. I've got the Gloss Gods Dancing in the Sky. I've only used this 20 times, or at least I've said I've only used it 20 times, even though I have 2 pans in here and I always rank this super high. I just don't have a lot of use on this one, so I need to change that. I have not yet gone into it this year, but I did just pull it from my Shop My Stash, so I will be dipping into maybe a few shades here and there throughout the month. Who knows? Whenever it happens, it will happen. Another Gloss Gods. This is the Look for Rainbows. This is another one that I am purposely going into because I have it in my pan that palette in order. So I'm definitely getting more use out of this now. I didn't go into it at all last year. So it was kind of, you know, a fun one for me to pick for my pan that palette in order. I have gone into this one 21 times. 8 of those times have been this year. So definitely getting a lot of use so far this year, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. So I don't know if you saw a little spoiler there, but you know, you'll have to just wait and see. That's going to be updated next week. Okay, then we have the Colourpop Aurora Struck. I'm not including any of my Colourpop singles obviously in this ranking because I see them now as singles, even though I kept a lot of the shades like in my Blue Moon, my Meant to Be, you know, all those other ones. I just see them as singles. So none of them are going to appear in here, all those 9-pan palettes or 12-pan palettes that I have depotted, because I did get rid of actually a lot of shades too. Anyway, so Aurora Struck. This one I have used 20, I just feel like I need to make this bigger. This one I've used 22 times, and 6 of those uses have been this year. So not too bad, but definitely one that I kind of had in my collection for a long time and I wasn't really grabbing. And then I just started grabbing it recently. So I've been trying to enjoy it more. And then we have the Astro Nova. So this is a new palette. I got this in March, and no, I got this in February, sorry. This is from Makeup Revolution. And this one I've used quite a bit. I have done a few looks with it. I also did like a 3 looks, 1 palette dedicated video for this one. So I have 23 uses on this palette, and obviously all 23 uses were this year because I did not have it last year. But really, really enjoy it, and it just helped me get to know this palette. So that's kind of why I want to do more 3 looks, 1 palettes with most of the palettes in my collection that I enjoy, because it's going to give me an idea, like a better idea of what the palette can do. It's also just going to get more use out of palettes that I really enjoy, and so that's why I'm going to be doing those. Okay, then we have What's Up Beauty Dragon's Eye. This one I've used 24 times. I haven't gone into it at all this year yet, so we'll see if I do. Then we have the Glaminatrix Rich Romantics palette. This one I ranked super, super high in my ranking. I have gone into this one 24 times. 19 of those times have been this year. I will say also most of those uses have gone into this shade because it's in my pan those eyeshadows. I'm trying to hit pan obviously, but I have also done a few pretty looks with this one. And I think this is another one where I want to do 3 looks 1 palette. And I am going to be buying the Nearly Neutral, the new one. I will say though, I'm not that keen on the layout. I really enjoyed the last layout of the Nearly Neutral palette from Glaminatrix, and I've seen the new one that's coming out on the 20th, and I will be buying it, but it's not like all over the place. It's more like, it makes more sense in a way, and I liked the first one that was kind of all over the place. So I'm wondering if they can come out, if they're magnetic. Okay, so these are magnetic. I've just realized these are magnetic, so when I get that one, I'm hoping that I can switch it around to make it a little bit more unique, because I don't like how they've organized it, if you know what I mean. Okay, then we have Colourpop Hocus Pocus 2. This one I've used 24 times. I have not used it yet this year, but I would like to. I would like to use all my palettes this year. So if I say I haven't used it, hopefully I will eventually use it at some point this year. Even if it's just to go into 1 time, I'm going to try. Then we have another Glam Shop. This one I really enjoy. I haven't gone into this one yet this year either. This one I have used, however, 26 times. So we're getting there, we're getting higher, a little bit higher, but not too much. They're all sort of very similar in terms of usage at the moment, but there will be a significant jump for some of these ones that are coming up, because a lot of my project level ups will be coming up, or even, you know, dare I say, pan that palettes, and they have a lot of use. Next up, we have the Neutrals from Cosmic Beauty. This is pretty high. I did do a 3 looks 1 palette, so I think that's why I got so much use out of it. I have used this 26 times, and obviously 26 times were this year. Also, a lot of those uses would have been in this one, because I did have this rolled into my pan those eyeshadows, and so a lot of those, I know this took me 10 uses, so 10 uses just went to pan those eyeshadows for this one shade. So really this would have been more like 16 uses, so it would have been a lot lower, but because it was in my pan those eyeshadows, you know, if you do those projects, you get quite a lot of use. You can see, look, this black is breaking. This is another palette where their black is breaking. You see, it's gonna make a mess again. I'm gonna have to get rid of it, because all of the other ones have blacks and they're all just I don't know what happens. I don't know why the black does that, because none of the other mattes do it for me. It's just it's just the black and it's always a mess. So anyway, this one, 26 uses. I think that's pretty decent for a new palette. I just got that in February as well. Okay, and then we have Gloss Gods Gal on Jupiter. This is my favorite palette in my collection, and it is so low. So I need to get a lot more use out of this one. I've only used this 26 times. I haven't gone into it yet this year. But you know, I don't think I really need to, because I'm working on my Shadow Kiss and the color story is very similar, but I don't want to neglect it by any means, because it is like my favorite palette in my collection. So definitely want to change that. I'll just be picking and choosing when I go into this one. But yeah, this one is too low for how much I love it. Then we have the Feral palette from Menagerie Cosmetics. This one I've gone into 27 times. I haven't gone into it yet this year. So this is one that I think I would like to try to play around a little bit more, try to figure out how I'm gonna work with this. Yeah, it's not a favorite color story of mine. Then we have the Essence Circle of Life palette. This has 27 uses, and this one, I have 2 uses from this year. So this is what this is looking like. It was ranked pretty low in my ranking video, but I think 27 is pretty decent. Then we have the What's Up Beauty Geodes palette. This one, I have 28 uses, and 2 of those were from this year. Yeah, this is a palette that I enjoy from them. I think this is my favorite palette from What's Up Beauty. I did rank it that way anyway, and I do think this is my favorite for sure. It's a very pretty palette. You see all this black? This is all from their black shades. This is Cosmic Beauty again. This is the Serenity palette. This is the palette where I had to remove the black because it was an absolute disaster. A mess, a mess, a mess. But I feel like the rest of them are just gonna ruin the palettes if I don't get rid of them. So Serenity, if you couldn't, gather, is the next one. I use this 28 times as well. 7 of those times have been this year, and I've been really enjoying it recently. So yeah, this one should be ranked a little bit higher because it is definitely one of my favorites. Speaking of favorites, the Lethal Cosmetics Air Palette. Love this one. This will be higher. This is in my project level up. I'm slowly dipping my hands in it when I want to. I actually went into it a little bit today, but the usage so far on it is pretty low, even though it has been in my Pan Those Eyeshadows once before. I have 29 uses on this one. I haven't tracked the uses yet so far this year because all of the uses on this have been in April, and I'm not tracking April at this point. So that's where we are with this one. Next up, we have my Midnight palette from Beauty Bay. This one I've used 30 times. 8 of those times have been this year. I did have this one in my Pan Those Eyeshadows recently, and I've been dipping my hands in a couple of other ones as well. So that's how I've got my 8 uses for this year. But yeah, you know what? I kind of realized there are some really pretty shades in here. So if anything, I'll probably just keep it as is, and then maybe get rid of some shades I don't need, because I just can't imagine myself depotting this, but it would save a lot of room because they're absolutely enormous. Okay, then we have, oops, this is the wrong way. Then we have another Cosmic Beauty palette. This is the Delicious Delights. This one I've used 30 times. 7 of those times have been this year so far, and I would like to get a lot more use on this one. So another one that I really enjoy, and I think it definitely deserves to be higher. Okay, this one kind of surprised me, but then I realized I had it in my Pan Those Eyeshadows, and then I was like, oh, that makes complete sense. So we have Ensley Rain Flower Moon. I have 30 uses on this palette, but most of them were because of the one shade that I have right here, which I did hit pan on, and the amount of times I went into it this year, wait, I've lost it, 10 times. I went into this one 10 times, so I went into it obviously 20 times last year because I did buy this last year. But yeah, nice palette. I think it's where it should be. Okay, then we have Onside Jewels and Gem. I have 33 uses on this one. 6 uses have been this year. This has been rolled into various projects, and I have been, trying to dip my hands in it as much as possible. But at the end of the day, it's still a palette that I really, really don't think is very good. But I did have the shade rolled into, I'm assuming it's my Pan Those Eyeshadows. So yeah. Okay, then we have another Gloss Gods. It's the Vintage Glam. This one I've gone into 33 times, and 6 of those uses have been this year. So I've been really good at tracking my uses this year, because typically this has not been in a project this year. Well, aside from this shade, that was last year, I think. But this year, I just rolled it in as a Shop My Stash item for February. And those 6 uses that I went into it, I just tracked it a lot better. Normally, typically in the past, I would have not been tracking these very well at all. So I think this year, my numbers are going to be way more accurate than previous years. I'm just getting better at it. Okay, then we have this one from Makeup Revolution. This is the Dangerous in Love. This one I've used 40 times. I haven't used it yet this year, but a lot of those uses would have been in this shade because it was in my Pan Those Eyeshadows. And as you see, I do have a pan in it. So yeah, I do like this palette. 40 uses, pretty decent actually for this type of palette. I would expect other palettes that are behind it to be higher. So it's pretty high for what it is, to be fair. Okay, then we have my BH Cosmetics Blueberry Muffin. This one I've used 43 times in total. 2 of those have been this year, but not very much this year so far. But yeah, I'm happy that I've at least dipped into it once. Okay, then we have my Colourpop California Love. This one I've used 44 times in total. I've not gone into it yet this year. So this is been neglected, I guess, for a whole year, I would say for sure. Nebula Dreamy is next. This one I've used 47 times in total and 6 uses were this year. I did pull it for like Valentine's month in February. And yeah, I did a look with it. Okay, then we have the Killer Purr from Menagerie Cosmetics. This one I have gone into 54 times. I've not gone into it yet this year, but I would like to. This one was in my Pan Those Eyeshadows for a while, so I did get a lot of uses because of that. But otherwise, I really like this palette, and I'm glad that's pretty up there. Next up, we've got my NARS. This is the Afterglow palette. This one I also have 54 uses on. I have had this a really long time. It's one of my oldest palettes, so the fact that it has 54 uses is actually pretty bad. But I do think I had this in a Zodiac panner or Pan Those Eyeshadows, I don't recall, but I do have a pan in the shade Push It. I love that shade in this palette. Otherwise, the rest of the shades are pretty untouched, I have to say. So if I'm gonna spend any time on this palette, I really do need to actually spend time on it. I'm not making any sense. Did that make any sense to you? No. Okay, then we have my ABH Nouveau palette. This one I've used 59 times. I kind of ranked it pretty low in my ranking, I'm not gonna lie, because I feel like the formula isn't very good anymore. But this is where it is. I haven't gone into it at all this year yet. Then we have my MAC Star Sighting palette in the shade Fuchsia. This was a holiday special. This one I've used 64 times. This is another very old palette in my collection, one of the oldest. And I do have a couple pans in here. So I have actually dedicated some of those uses in a project pan of some sort, like a Pan Those Eyeshadows or a Zodiac panner. I don't recall, but it was one of the two, or maybe both of them. Then we have my Natasha Denona. This is the Retro palette. I'm actually surprised this is so high because I always feel like I don't really go into this palette very much, but this one I've gone into 67 times, which I'm happy about because look, it's an expensive palette. It's not my favorite, but it is expensive. I haven't gone into it yet this year, so I would like to go into it, obviously. Then we have my BH Cosmetics Avocado Toast. This one I've gone into 67 times as well. I will say most of those uses would have been in this shade because I had that in my Pan Those Eyeshadows. I don't think I would have had nearly as many uses on this had I not had that in my Pan Those Eyeshadows, but I really do like that shade. But yeah, I don't think it would have been as high. All right, then we have my Bronze Rustic. This one I've gone into 70 times and 8 of those times have been this year. It's been in my Pan Those Eyeshadows for who knows how long. This was in my Zodiac panner. This was a Pan Those Eyeshadows. Then I was working on this shade in my Pan Those Eyeshadows and I really recently just rolled it out. So it's just getting a lot of use because of projects. Then we have BH Cosmetics Summer in Saint-Tropez. This one I've used 73 times and 3 of those uses have been this year. I really do enjoy this, but it makes me sad. I feel like the formula is going, so I should use it more before it goes completely. Okay, then we have What's Your Power from Gloss Gods. This was my Project Level Up level 5, so I did get a lot of use out of this for that reason. This one I have used 97 times and 8 of those times have been this year. So most of those would have been last year. This was a very high used palette last year for sure. But yeah, I managed to finish my level 5. It just took it took like half the year. It took half the year. Okay, then we have my ABH Jackie Aina. I'm actually really pleased that this is so high because this is another really old palette that I always really loved. I always ranked really high. Recently, I did rank it pretty low, but just because I feel like it's not a typical color story that I gravitate towards all the time, but I still really do like it. But I'm very pleased that I've got so much use out of this one. So this one, I have 99 uses. I haven't gone into it yet this year, but like I said, I'm just really pleased that it has all those uses. I will say a lot of those uses would have been in this shade. I don't know if you can tell, but I do have a pan in this ginger shade. It took me probably like 50 uses to hit pan. It was like the craziest thing. I also have obviously pans in these shades as well. So there's a few of those times when it has been rolled into projects and I've got quite a lot of use. But otherwise, I think in general, I do like a lot of shades in here. So I'm very pleased that it is as high as it is, to be fair. This one I'm not so pleased because it's one of my least favorite palettes in my collection. I don't think it deserves to be so high, but it's kind of my fault because it keeps being rolled into projects and I keep being like, okay, fine. It is the Sigma Corta Rosa. So this one I've used 101 times. And so I've given it a lot of attention. 7 of those uses have been this year. So I'm still giving it a lot of attention. You can see I have 2 pans, so it has been rolled into projects, but otherwise that is a huge amount. That is a huge amount of time that I've put into a palette that I always feel quite disappointed in. So yeah. Okay, then we have my Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde. This one I've used 122 times. This is also getting to be a little bit old in my palette, but 3 of those uses have been this year. I'm very pleased that this one is as high as it is as well. It would be very sad if it wasn't very high. So I'm very, very happy that I have the use on it and it is where it is. Okay, then I have my Beauty Bay Earthy palette. This one I have used 125 times. 27 of those times have been this year, because I had it in my Pan-That palette in order and I was crazy and I was still working on it. So, you know, even though I didn't really have, you can't really tell that I used it all those times, I did use it an awful lot of time this year already. So, and then I had it in like my Bingo of Shame. It's had a lot of use, which I'm very pleased about because it's a very big palette. The formula is really pretty. It's just too big. It's too big. It's just a huge, enormous palette. But I'm somewhat happy that it is as high as it is. Okay, then I have my Club Nebula. This is one of my project level ups. I currently have 2 palettes in my project level up. This is my level 3. Yeah, this is my level 3. And I still have some pans that I need to hit, and I still have shades that I need to use. I actually have quite a few shades on today from this palette. So this one I've used 137 times and 52 times have been this year so far. So it's been one of my most used palettes this year, for sure. Because of my project level up, you can see I have loads of pans, lots of dippage. Hopefully I'll have a pan before my next update, which will be this week. So, okay, then we have our top 10. So we only have 10 left. These are the top 10 palettes that are most used in my collection. Okay, so at number 10, it is the Alter Ego Shadow Kiss. This is one of my Pan-That palettes for the year. And this one I've used 141 times. 70 times have been this year so far. And this is where we are. I've just done my update, so I'm not worried about spoiler. I have a pan, but 70 times and it still, doesn't look that used and abused. So I always say this, but Alter Ego is not that easy to hit pan on. It does take quite a bit of time. So I'm in it for the long one for this one, and I don't mind because it is one of my favorite palettes, so that doesn't matter. Okay, then we have another Alter Ego. This is the Canyon. So this one I've used 141 times as well. I've not used it at all this year. And the reason I have so much use on it is because it was my project level up. It was the level 5 a couple years ago. And I just got so much use out of it because I was trying to hit pan on 5 different shades, which obviously you can see I did, but it took a long time. It took a long time. And I'm not mad because I do like this palette. Okay, then we have the Huda Beauty Naughty Nude. So this one, I have just a little bit more usage on it than the Shadow Kiss. This is another Pan-That palette for the year. I've used this 152 times and 67 times this year. Actually, this year alone, I've used a little bit less than the Shadow Kiss, but overall, I've used it a little bit more, which makes sense but they're both pretty old. I've had them for 2, maybe 3 years now, so they're getting old. But yeah, this is, yeah, my other Pan palette for the year, if I didn't say that. So this is where this one is. All right, then we have my ABH Norvina. This one I've used 159 times, and 14 of those uses have been this year. So a lot of the uses were previous years. This has been a project level up, but it was only a level 2. And it's been in various other projects, but otherwise I just have always loved this palette. So I've gotten a lot of use out of it just because I wanted to. Okay, then we have another alter ego. It's funny that 3 of my alter egos are all really, really high in usage. I do like their formula. So I've always thought, well, I should buy more, but it's quite hard with the shipping. They're based in the US. I'm not based in the US. It's not that easy to get it. This one I have 174 uses on. Only 5 of those uses were this year. I did have this again in one of my project level ups. It was a level 3, but because there's so many shades in this palette, I got so much use out of it regardless. And obviously, I think, you know, these shades took more than 3 uses to hit pan. So yeah, I got a lot of uses out of this one. This is, yeah, number 3. This is my number 3, one of my most used palettes in my collection. I'm not that surprised, but I am a little surprised. First up, we've got the Sample Beauty. This is the Equalizer Volume 2. This one I've used 186 times, and only 2 of those times have been this year. So this is one where I also had it in a project level up, as well at just like the Artemis, this one is big palette. And this one was my level 4, I believe. Yeah, because I have 4. Yeah, this was my level 4. So I definitely had to use it a little bit more than the other palette, the Artemis. And so I got those extra uses. I'm very pleased about that, to be fair, because this is a palette that I really, really do enjoy the color story. I really think the quality is really pretty too. So I'm happy about that. And then my most used palette that I have currently in my collection is my Urban Decay Stone Vibes. We're not surprised. It was my Pan palette for last year. The Pan palette that I had the previous year, which was the e.l.f. Retro Paradise, I obviously have decluttered that. That had a lot of use on it too. But because I don't have that anymore, just bear in mind, Sample Beauty Equalizer Volume 2 had 186. It was number 2. This one, number 1, how many uses? 322 uses on this palette. 5 of them have been this year, so most of them were last year for sure. But yeah, this is obviously an older palette. I have been tracking it a long time, and I think I had a few shades in my Zodiac Panner project when I was doing that a few years ago, and then obviously last year, I just got so many uses on these shades. So I'm very, very pleased, and generally I'm not shocked at all that this one is at the top. Okay, so that is me ranking all of my palettes by usage. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think. I definitely want to have a look at this maybe in a year's time and make sure that my top palettes have a lot more uses than my bottom light palettes, because I am seeing a lot of palettes at the top that I don't feel like they should have nearly as much use as they do, and unfortunately they do. But anyway, this is very interesting and very eye-opening to see which ones are at the bottom. I need to rectify some of those gloss gods because they do not belong at the bottom. They do not. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!